for doing your studies. And again, we're welcoming Professor ChatGPT, who is I don't know if doyen is the right word, but who knows how to use tools from the internet like nobody else I know. And I learn so much from him all the time. Chats, while we're waiting for others to join, I want to share with you an experience I had with ChatGPT yesterday. I've been wanting to design a template for case studies, specifically case studies where a diagnosis has been made on a patient, but the treatment is not working. Then you get a genetic test done, a whole genome sequence or a whole exome sequence, and you find actually what they've got is something that presents with those symptoms, but it's a genetic disorder. And so that's why the therapy needs to be changed. The therapy that would normally go clinically with that, those symptoms is not working. So we find something else, another pathway. So I went into ChatGPT and I said to it, I created a prompt, and obviously the more complex your prompt is, the more information I'll give you. So I asked ChatGPT, design a template that would look at case studies, and I gave it a whole lot of information. And in 10 seconds, it spit out a really good template. And I spent about 20 minutes editing it, creating lines where I can now add information, and then a couple of extra things that I wanted to add to it. And the realization I had afterwards was ChatGPT didn't create anything for me. What it did is it took my thinking and it created something fast, faster than I could do it. It also found other bits of information that I didn't give it in the prompt, but it wasn't information new to me, stuff I knew, but I just hadn't thought about. And I realized not only is it helping to make things faster, it's because it's looking at a whole range of things. It's going to bring to this new product things that you might be forgetting at the moment. So it's actually a brilliant PA. I'm looking forward to the day when I get a ChatGPT of an image of myself that I can look at on the computer and say, hey, you do this for me by doing this, that, and the next thing, and getting the product. So I'm really looking forward to today's talk, where you're going to show us how you have used ChatGPT. I know I've used it in various things, but I know that I'm going to learn a lot, and there are a lot of people today who know that they're also going to be enjoying your talk. So everybody, thanks again. And just to let you know, in case some of you have to drop off, this is the last talk for this semester. We'll be starting up again in August. And I'm going to be asking Prof. De Vroep to be coming back again, because we are at the forefront of tools in science. We've got to stay there. So thanks. Handing over to you, Chats.
Good. Thank you very much, Colleen. Thank you for the lovely introduction, as always. And welcome to everybody who is present. Colleen had just given you an anecdote as to how she had used it. And what we need to keep in mind is that with a tool like ChatGPT, it is constantly evolving. So yes, Colleen, there will be very soon, and I could say within the next 6 months, a chatbot that will look just like you on the screen, which we can design, and you can speak to yourself on the screen, which will be lovely, or you can design it. They're already using it in Japan. As you know, for individuals who are lonely, they create a profile of some lady that they would like with all their specs, and they can speak to the lady or a man, whatever the case might be. And so we're already there with the visual image processing stuff. Now, you had also pointed out something very interesting in your introduction, and that is that ChatGPT can't think for you. Keep that in mind. You still have to do the thinking. What it does, however, it does assist you in doing certain mundane or lengthy tasks in a manner that really speeds up the process. It helps you to do things very fast. Now, I know the jury is still out there. Yes, should we use it in academia or not? We're not going to go into that topic, because essentially, for me, that's not a debate. That is really not a debate. To give you a simple example, Those of us who are much older used to write our references out by hand. We used to decide on the format. We're going to use an MLA or an APA format or Chicago. We used to write this by hand and make sure everything was correct. Then came along a piece of software called Mendeley or Zotero or EndNote or Cite as you write. There's a whole host of them. That just allowed us to do what we were always doing, but to do it much more faster, much more effective, get it in an alphabetical list, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these interventions, the so-called artificial intelligence interventions, are just tools. They are tools to assist you to do tasks that you are required to do as a researcher, but to help you to do them faster. That's what they're going to do. You have to do it much faster and with a very high level of accuracy. Now, that word accuracy, I would like you to keep in shutter quotes, accuracy. Like any evolving tool, it is not perfect. It is not perfect. The designers of these tools are constantly updating and revising stuff as we go to make it as polished as we can. Now, there is a common argument for those who do use artificial intelligence, just in case you don't know, the data set that has been used or data sets that have been used for AI includes almost everything up until the end of 2020, December 2020. So in other words, people might say, well, it's not up to date. So I don't have anything on 2021 or 2022 or 2023. Now, that is poor thinking because yes, the database doesn't have it, but nothing stops you from using an article and inserting its contents and engaging with its contents using the tools that are available with you with ChatGPT-3. I just did it last night. I took an article that was published in 2023, I inserted it into ChatGPT, and I started to engage with the article. It's simple. So yes, the content is not available after 2021, but I do have certain plugins that does have access to that sort of content. If you are interested, we can do that in a future session to show you how you can bring it up to speed. But it does have a limitation yet, but we can get past it. So on to today's lecture. I'm trying to get this more as a practical session. So I've divided my talk today into two sections. The first section, which is more the talking, the theorization, the thinking behind it, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to be like a lecture to you. The second section is going to be a hands-on tutorial as to how I use it, how I would use it. So I've asked Colleen to give me a topic, and I'm going to show you how I would engage with that topic using ChatGPT-3, just to show you what are some of the possibilities that are available to you. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to share my screen, and please let me know if you can see my screen. Which I think is going to be important first. So that's it. Share. And I just want to get my slideshow going. Just let me know if you can see my slide. Can you see my slideshow, please?
Yes, we can.
Right. Now you need to see my full slide and not my text that goes with it. That's the actual slide.
Yeah, we are not seeing your full slide yet. We're still seeing it in edit mode.
Okay, let me just see. So I've got my screens wrong here.
No, if you just go under where you are now, go to your left next to the pencil. I think if you click on that icon next to the pencil, that icon, is that, no, that's not that icon.
1 second, I just want to see where I can get this. I always struggle with this because I use multiple screens, so.
At the top, it says use slideshow on the top left. Is it
right
maybe
at
that?
the top above,
Okay, that's not it.
And we've lost your screen now. We've lost your shared screen.
Okay, can you see that? Let's try
now it's perfect. Perfect.
Okay, so here we go. So as I said, I've changed the title somewhat from what Colleen had suggested. I'm looking at more best practices using AI for scientific writing, for scientific work, the kind of work we are busy with at the moment. And I think before we start looking at this, so let's start to look at some of the strengths. What are the strengths of using ChatGPT-3 so that it will help you to understand where we are at using, this tool? Firstly, it'll help to break down mental log jams when writing. or when you're struggling to write those first few words, having some text to start with can enable a writer to overcome an activation barrier to productivity. Now, having said that, be aware that this starting point might mentally pin you to a certain way of thinking and writing. So you need to keep that in mind. So do not let this text limit your creativity and insight. A better approach might be to use ChatGPT after completing a draft of your manuscript to provide a complementary perspective to determine if the topics or points that you missed or it would spark new ideas. Secondly, it's good for making interesting analogies. So when properly prompted, and generate some seemingly sort of creative links between disparate concepts and ideas, although these require a reality check to ensure that they are reasonable or plausible. The third one, be used effectively to improve the title, the abstract, the conclusion of your manuscript, or to tailor it to match the journal parameters or to better match its scope of readership. The fourth one, I would say, to identify references for specific topic that might be missed by conventional literature searches, reading, including such references that can enrich your understanding of a topic area. But they must be carefully read or scanned to ensure that they are correct and that they are relevant. The fifth one that I have here is to provide a guidance on writing structure by breaking up a difficult topic into smaller pieces. However, this sort of chatbot might make some poor suggestions, so caution is required when you're actually doing this. The sixth one, level the playing field by facilitating composition by non-native speakers. If you're a non-native English speaker, this will help you considerably. This language bot and others will also almost certainly be included directly in other interfaces such as Microsoft 365 and so on. And the next one is to help a writer to be more thorough when covering a topic by reminding them of aspects they have not considered. The next one, 7, to provide knowledge in an area in which one has little familiarity in a structured, easy to digest manner. However, one must keep in mind that the output might be incomplete or lacking in creative insight, as will be described later. Or if you're working with Python, to develop code for Python and other computer languages. Okay, so now let's look at some of the concerns that we have. Some of the concerns that we have here, to be fast and easy to use, but perhaps too easy if one fails to use it responsibly and with care. The next one, be used to write and replace critical thinking and thorough literature review to the detriment of the user. Now, in the case of students, the writing of their first manuscript is a transformative training experience. So over-reliance on these language bots deprives them of this opportunity, limiting their intellectual growth and confidence. So the third point is it could lead to banal sort of cookie cutter. This is my common phrase, my cookie cutter and uninteresting science if it is not used as only jumping off a point for creative science. So artificial intelligence tools are typically good at regurgitating conventional wisdom, but weak when it comes to identifying and generating sort of unique outcomes. They can be even worse at judging whether a unique outcome is spurious, anomalous, or even for that matter, groundbreaking. The fourth one that I have here is be used without reading the actual papers that support the claims made by the author. Be very cautious when using it. As mentioned earlier, ChatGPT can invent references or spurious correlations. Be careful. It does do that. The output of the artificial intelligence model cannot be taken at face value. So all outputs need to be subjected to critical review to prevent errors, missing key information, and making unrelated claims. ChatGPT might be more likely to generate incorrect information if the available data is incomplete or outdated. So there's a caution here as to how you ask it to do something. The fifth point, fail to provide both sides of a controversial topic, particularly without a user input. So ChatGPT cannot express disruptive concepts. On the 6th point, inherit the built-in biases and falsehoods intrinsic to the scientific enterprise. It can suppress minority views that question or oppose a well-established conception or explanation of a scientific phenomenon, or overlook works with fewer citations arising from intrinsic biases. The 7th one, to generate text that is not forward-looking, as it might summarize the consensus without user intervention. So introductions and review papers that are based solely upon the output of ChatGPT will lack thoughtful insights on where a field is headed. On the 8th one, the 8th point that we have, can lead to an increase of submissions of perspectives, accounts, reviews that lack nuance in the storyline and forward-looking discussion, since these manuscript types can be easily generated by ChatGPT with the existing information. The next point, on to generate output that is incorrect or recently shown to be false. So outputs can be manipulated to support arguments without tailored prompts. Now, I'm going to come to the prompts just now to explain to you how we would actually use a prompt, how we structure a prompt to ensure that we don't get into this sort of mess. And the last point that I have for you here is to present major challenges with regards to reporting of clinically relevant findings that require transparency in outcomes reporting, clear communication of trial designs, and other information. So, given the important role that publications can play in reporting clinically actionable findings that can drive practice change, the use of ChatGPT in these circumstances might require substantial oversight and disclosure. Okay, that's just a concern. So what are my recommendations? What would I recommend for you? Now, do remember that I'm sitting in a research position at my university. I do not discourage my students from using it. I actually encourage them. However, I encourage them to use it with these following recommendations. So firstly is acknowledge. In the acknowledgement and experimental sections, your use of an AI bot or ChatGPT to prepare your manual manuscript. Clearly indicate which part of the manuscript used the output of the language bot, and provide the prompts and questions, and slash or transport in the supporting information. That's a safe way. Next point. Remind your co-authors and yourself that the output of ChatGPT model is merely a very early draft at best. The output is incomplete. It might contain incorrect information, and every sentence and statement must be considered critically. So check, 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 and check again, and then check again. Do not use text verbatim from ChatGPT 3. These are not your words. Now, the bot might have also reused text from other sources, leading to inadvertent plagiarism. Now, the issue around plagiarism and using AI is quite a hot topic at the moment, simply because the argument that's being made is, yes, we are copying, but we're not copying from a person. We are copying from a machine. I'm not going to go into that argument here. This is not the place for that. Okay, but just do keep that in the back of your mind. Do not copy text verbatim. The next point. Any citations recommended by any artificial intelligence bot, or in our case, ChatGPT, needs to be verified with the original literature, since the bot is known to generate some erroneous citations. Then, do not include ChatGPT or any other AI bot as a co-author. It cannot generate new ideas or compose a discussion based on new results, as that is our domain. That's our domain as human beings. This is what we do. It is merely a tool, as I mentioned in my introduction, like many other programs, for helping with the formulation and writing of manuscripts. The next point that I have for you, ChatGPT cannot be held accountable for any statement or ethical breach. You need to keep that in mind. As it stands, all authors of a manuscript share this responsibility, and you know this in science because you do a lot of collaborative work. So, and the last point that I have for you here, and almost importantly, do not allow ChatGPT to squelch your creativity and deep thinking. Use it to sort of expand your horizons and sort of spark or generate new ideas. So what I'm going to share with you now, that's so much the thinking and the ethics and the theorization around. I want to share with you the tools that I use. Okay, so you can sit back and relax a little bit, because I'm going to explain to you some of the next bits of information that I use in my own presentation. And for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to go through this, just to explain this. So firstly, ChatGPT 3. All of you know what ChatGPT, well, I'm using version 4, ChatGPT 4. This is the paid version that I have. So what does it do? ChatGPT 4 generates human-like text-based on given prompt. So you give it a prompt and it will generate text for you. That's exactly what it does. It draws information from a large database. So linked to ChatGPT are a whole host of plugins. Now, I'm pretty sure all of you know what a plugin is, also using this AI platform. So one of the plugins that I use is something called Humata. Humata. I will try to demonstrate it today if we do have some time. I'm looking at the clock. Yeah, we might have some time. It's called Humata. So what does Humata do? It automates, it streamlines, and enhances the human resource management process. So in other words, you can upload an article to Humata and ask it questions about that article, like, what is the theoretical framework we use? What is the research question used in this article? What are the findings in this article? Who are the key references? So you can ask it those sorts of questions in Humata, and then you can bring that into ChatGPT. Okay, so the next one that I use is something called Cite. This is a brilliant piece of software. Sadly, you got to pay for this, and I think the going rate is 186 rands a month, something like that. Or if you buy a year subscription, it's 105 rands per month for the rest of the year. I would encourage you to do this. This is well worth it. Cite is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. What does it do? It provides you with citation context and checks the reliability of scientific articles. This is what you want it for. This is where you want to check ChatGPT. So we have Cite. The next one that I use is something called Elicit. Elicit leverages machine learning, that's the learning from computer, to find research sources with abstract summaries. So when you're searching for articles and you don't know where to search, all of us default to Web of Science, or we go to scholar.google.com, or we have some various platforms. However, Elicit is very powerful, even more powerful than those. It gets exactly the article that you want with an abstract and with a summary. Extremely powerful, something which Google Scholar does not do yet. Okay, the next one I use, fairly common piece of software. I think everybody in the humanities uses this. I know from my colleagues back at UKZN, a lot of them do. I introduced them to this, and everybody seems to use it now. It's called Quillbot. Quillbot, it's another bot. This paraphrases and enhances a sentence or a paragraph or an article to improve the clarity and the readability. It makes it easily accessible, or it can rewrite it in a way that would be simple to understand. Now, I read a lot of texts that are written by philosophy majors, which can be very dense. Philosophers are the worst kind of material you can read. They just write these long sentences that are extremely dense. And I always want this broken down into a language that I can understand. And that's exactly what this does. It simplifies it for you. It doesn't simplify the argument. It's simplifying the article to make it understandable. So Quillbot is one of the ones. The next one I use something called Private GPT. Now, this is an absolute knockout. Absolute knockout. Unfortunately, you're going to need me to help you to be able to patch this into your computer, because this is a private version of GPT that you put on your computer, and it works offline. So you don't need internet access for this. And it allows you to access an article and probe various points in the article, like what was the sample size used in this article? What's the sampling that is used? What is the population? You can ask it various questions based on that, and all offline. An absolutely brilliant plugin. I would strongly urge you to use this, and it accesses various platforms, your TXT files, your PDF files, your SRV files, all of these strange file formats. You just load it in and you got access to the article. Absolutely brilliant. If you want to do anything today, go and check this out and go and load it onto your machine. The next one I use is something called ChatDoc. ChatDoc. This assists in document analysis and extraction of key information. Similar to the previous one, it does similar things. ChatDoc, that's what it does. Accesses information, allows you access to it. The next one is called Explain Paper. explain paper. Now, I did explain to you the last time, sorry for the redundancy, the last time that I was struggling with a medical condition for several years. I still have this medical condition right now. But most of the material on my medical condition is written using health sciences jargon, the jargon that you guys use, the language you use. And that's inaccessible to me as a practitioner. So I sort of get this explain paper to explain these things in a language that I can understand, using the terminology that I understand. So imagine that you are a general practitioner and you have a patient seated in front of you and you receive the blood results that have come through from a pathology lab, and you now have to explain to your patient, well, this is the problem that you have. So you're not going to give them all the specifics on what is on the paper, but you will explain to them the condition. This is what this does. Explain paper is absolutely lovely. Then I have something called word tune read. Now there's word tune and there's word tune read, so be careful. You're using the read version. This rephrases your writing, making it clearer, much more engaging, much more natural. So if you feel that ChatGPT-4 has given you something that's written in very technicist jargon that's very bland, which happens very often, you can use WordTune to refine it towards the language style that you have. And the final one that I have is something called Paper Digest. This generates a succinct summary of scientific papers. So you can take a paper, load it in, and it'll give you a summary of the paper. Now, yes, you might be saying this is going to make you lazy from reading the paper. Okay, I'm not going to get into that argument. Yes, it does do that. But if you're chasing time and you want to go through something quickly, or you're scanning a whole host of articles, this is what it's going to do. So in a nutshell, these are some of the pieces of software that I would recommend for you. The API, we call them APIs, the APIs. Okay, I'm not going to bore you with the full explanation of what it is. So it's an API, and I would strongly encourage you to look at them. Some of them you've got to pay for. As I said, Cite you have to pay for. Quillbot, if you're looking at the full version, you got to pay for. It's cheap. It's about $5 or something. It's not all that expensive. I think those are the only two that I know of here, and ChatGPT-4, the full version that you got to pay for. But believe me, it is money well worth spent, well worth invested. So where are we now? I'm coming to the tail end of the first part of my lecture. I just have 2 more slides for you, and then we go into the practical implications. So the most effective way of prompt engineering, what is prompt engineering? In other words, ChatGPT prompts you, it gives you a prompt. A prompt is like, okay, ask me something or tell me something. That's what it is, a prompt. So I have a 7-step rule for this. This is the rule I use, and I would ask you to think about it when working with your own research using ChatGPT. Try to keep to these rules, and you would find that it might just be helpful for you. This is where things start to go a bit wonky if you don't follow these so-called rules. The first thing, be specific. Be specific. As much detail as possible. Give as much detail, as Colleen said in her introduction. Give as much detail as possible about the thing you want, so you are clear. Next, state your intent. State this in the prompt. What is your intention? Are you writing this for a journal article? Is this a review? Is this a summary of the book? Is this the book chapter? Are you writing it for a newspaper? What is your intent? State your intent. Next, use correct spelling and grammar. Now, yes, ChatGPT will fix that and it might overlook it. However, it makes it much more accurate when you are using correct spelling and grammar. Okay, then direct the output format. Direct the output format. Explain the steps of the process. Tell me what steps do you want it to give you so you can actually follow that. Next, ask sort of follow-up questions. Ask to get clarity. If ChatGPT tells you something that, yes, AIDS is caused by eating garlic and beetroot, go and check this out. Ask it a follow-up question. Say, are there any vegetables, or spices that can be used to cure AIDS? Ask it a question in a roundabout way to find out if it's going to give the same kind of answer. So test it. Okay, the next, experiment with different phrasing. Use different phrasing for things to see if it'll give you the same kind of response. And lastly, prompt for fact checking. Prompt for fact checking. So feedback for fast fact checking. So I've divided a small table for you to assist you with this. And this is my last slide here before we go on to the actual presentation. So this is a kind of formula that I use when I'm using a chat bot. This is kind of, and I've got them color coded for you, just so that it makes it very easy when you are working with putting in a prompt. Okay, I hope that this does help you, but it will help guide you. So the formula that I use, which I've taken, by the way, this is not my stuff. I've taken this off the web. I found this very interesting of somebody who did a presentation, and I found it very interesting. So I started to use it, and I found that this is very powerful. So I'm using somebody else's work. I do have his name somewhere if you are interested. So the formula he uses is the following. Firstly, the context, as I explained in my previous step. The context. What is your context? Next, give it some specific information. Then, what is your intent? What are you intending to do with this? Then a response format. Now, if you use these ingredients or these elements, you will come up with the perfect prompt. For example, I've given you here 2 examples. Example number 1, your context. I am a beginner researcher. Specific information. I'm trying to write a scientific article. That's specific information. What's my intent? Can you provide a simple and easy to follow method to write an academic article for a health sciences academic journal? So can you see how specific I am? I know you might find this redundant. Well, why academic article for an health sciences academic journal? You have to tell it because you could be writing for a health sciences general magazine or a supplement or whatever the case might be. So I'm specific. And the last part of it, write it as a step-by-step list. So you see the criteria I have on top in the formula. I'm a beginner researcher, my context, the specific information, trying to write a scientific article that's a bit more specific. Next, my intent. Give me a quick way or a suitable method to follow to write an academic article for what? For a health sciences academic journal. I'm being specific. So ChatGPT knows this. And write it as a step-by-step list. So that's one example. The second example that I've drawn on, and this, I didn't design this, my son gave me this a few nights ago when I was talking to him about my presentation with him. He says, I am a software developer. So that's your context. Working on a Python project. Python is a programming language, for those of you who are not familiar with it. Working on a Python project. So that's your specific information. My intent. Can you explain how to implement exception handling in Python? So I'm asking you something specific, my exception, okay? Write it in a simple paragraph or a list. So this is pretty much what I have for you here, folks. And that's a guide. So at this point, I'm going to pause and I'm going to ask you if you have any questions for me. I'm just going to open this up. So I'm going to ask you any questions before I move on to part 2.
Chat,
Hello,
it seems you've blown everybody away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's in a good way. I think the examples are great. Were you able to run those 2 prompts and come up with the responses to show, or you've just given us the prompts? Yeah,
well, look, I'm just giving you the prompt. So what I'm going to do now is to show you how I would use them in a research piece. So what I've done here, if there are no questions, by the way, but you can have these slides. I've just pieced them together. Remember, a lot of the content that I have is drawn from chatting to my son, who works with this on a daily basis. My son is the guy who is responsible for writing a lot of the APIs. So when Colleen has a problem with a certain kind of application for her work, I would ask him. She shared a colleague with me the other day, a colleague's research, and this colleague wanted to do some aspect of footnoting, and I told him, yes, we can write you a plugin to actually do that, which will pat into ChatGPT. So yes, we can write an API for something that you have. And that's the advantage of something open source. Anything open source, you can go and get a programmer or learn some programming and structure it the way you want it. That's what makes it extremely powerful. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen with you, and I hope you can see this. Please let me know if you can see the screen. Can you see this?
Yes, we can.
Right. So now what I have open for you, those of you who are not familiar with this, this is a ChatGPT screen. This is my plugin. And as you can see at the top, I have also open here. I just want to show this. You can see I've got my Humata open. That's my Humata. I've got it up because I'm always going to be checking up references. If ChatGPT is going to give me something, I want to double check. this guy is not lying, that it is true. I want to check it in UMATA or extract information from there. Then I'm also using elicit here at the top, elicit, which is helping me if I need to find an article on on COVID. I can just punch in, find me the most recent articles on COVID. It'll bring it up for me. Then I've got here cite. This is the powerful tool. Cite is checking your references. So in other words, if ChatGPT gives you a reference, put it into cite and check if this is actually correct. So cite will bring it up for you. Very powerful. And then the last one that I'm using, well, this is a branch of cite. Okay, that's pretty much. So you can see I've got these open all the time and I toggle between them. As I'm working, I just work between them. So Colleen had given me a task, quite a challenging one. And she says the following. I would like you to write a paper on the quality of doctoral research over the past 5 years. That was her topic. So, and she suggested that try to use it using the kind of method we use in scientific writing, which is the acronym for it is an IMRAD process that you follow in your writing. I could also use the one I use for qualitative work. So let's have a look at this. The first thing we do with something like this, when I'm starting out with something like this, we would start off with step one, which is what I would call the pre-writing phase, the pre-writing stage. And that would involve defining the research question. So ChatGPT can be a powerful brainstorming tool by asking you to generate ideas for a research paper. The quality of doctoral research or passage, you can explore the diverse perspectives of the problem. So let's see. I will punch this in here. I will simply say, define a research question on following, on the topic, the quality of doctoral research past 5 years. Now, firstly, if you look at this prompt, we have a problem with it. Okay, not that Colleen has got a problem, but she just gave this to me. Firstly, we don't understand what is the quality we're looking at. What do we mean by quality? Yeah, the following topic, the quality of doctoral. What do we mean by quality? Are we looking at scholarly quality? Are we looking at the productivity? Are we looking at the output? What is it? But we will leave it vague for now. Let's just leave it vague for now, okay? Of doctoral research. Now, the next part of the problem, over the past 5 years, do keep in mind that this particular program only stops at 2020. So its database is only up to 2020. That doesn't mean you cannot research beyond that. You can input articles and still bring it up to date. So the one thing I'd like you to remember before I run this is that ChatGPT, the moment you start a conversation, it will remember the entire thread of that conversation. You can come back to it. It will remember what you're asking. You don't have to go back and repeat yourself. So here we go. I'm just going to say run. Let's see what it's going to give us. I don't know what it's going to do. Okay, so the research question is giving us, how has the quality of doctoral research evolved over the past 5 years and what factors contributed to their observed changes? Here's the response it gave. Okay, so that's what we have here. That's the research question. Now, if I've got that as a research question, my next part would be suggest a structure for this research. Now, we need to decide if you want this as a qualitative or a quantitative, that's going to differ. So I'm going to be specific for now, and I'm hoping that most of you do understand the difference between qualitative and quantitative and mixed method study. So just a structure for this quantitative research paper. Okay, I'm going to be specific. I could have asked it both. Suggest a structure for this quantitative research paper, and I will say go. All right, look at what's happening. So there we have it. So it's given us a structure for the paper. If I scroll down slowly, I hope you can see this. It's given you a possible title. There we go. And if you don't like the title, you can get alternative titles, and it always does this. It's giving you an abstract. There's your abstract, pretty much short abstract, and we can always ask it to expand. Any of these aspects that it is given, you can always go back and ask it to go and extract the information. Then the next part is giving you a sort of in your introduction, what you should cover in the introduction. There you are. These are the things that should be covered in the introduction. It recommends you doing that. Your research objectives. Here's your objectives. And you can expand on these. You can shorten them. You can ask it to be more specific. You can ask it to suggest alternative research objectives. Then it gives you a literature review suggestion. Your literature review. Then your methodology. Your data collection. Your data analysis, your results, your discussion, and your conclusion. And you also have here a recommendation for your references. Now you can change the references to be any format that you want, MPA format. So as you can see, what it has done for you, it has taken your research question, made a suggestion for a title, and already given you a structure for your research. Now, your next step would be here once we do this, and I'm coming here from a humanities background, so please excuse my ignorance on this for the health sciences people. We would perform a literature review. We would now perform a literature review, which is the next step that we would undertake when we are doing research for the humanities. So ChatGPT can assist in summarizing articles, which is handy when reviewing a large volume of literature. So you can simply ask it. Now, that's if we got articles. We haven't put anything in. I can simply say, summarize the following article. And then here, what I could do, I could now make a copy of the article, take a PDF, insert it into Word, copy the abstract or the entire article, and paste it here, and it will summarize it. And you can ask it to summarize it in 200 words, 2,000 words, 500 words, and it will do the summary for you. That's what we can do. So now we can undertake your literature review by doing literature summaries here and summarize the following articles on the impact. So for example, I could take this summary from here, from various articles, and piece them together. I could say article 1 says that, article 2 says that, article 3 says that, article 4 says that. Please write me an overview of this, or provide me with a counter argument to this article. That's what you can also do. You say, please summarize the following article for me. This is the article that we have, etc., etc. That's the summary. That's how the study was undertaken. These are the findings of the study, and this is the method that was used. Now write me a counter argument to this particular article, and that's what it'll do for you. It'll write you a counter argument to that. So the literature review, obviously, you have to go and read your literature here. And I'm going to shift gears here. I hope you can see this. I'm going to shift gears here. I'm moving out of ChatGPT. I repeat, I'm moving out of it to Humata. Can you see this? Colleen, can you see Humata?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Right. So I'm just going to pull one article that I put up here. This article here by Lee Bozeman, 2000, The Impact of Research Collaboration on Scientific Productivity. That was an article that I put in. All I did was I took a PDF of it. I simply dragged it into this area here, the area that says drop files here or upload. I simply dragged the article here. It scanned the article for me, and I'm going to ask it a question based on that article. Okay, so here we have it. I'm going to ask it a question about this. There's the article. I'm just going to say, what is this article about? Something simple. Sorry, my spelling was wrong. I hope it gets the correct prompt. Right, so there you go. The article is about a study that examines the relationship between research collaboration and publishing and publishing. Okay, there we go. Now, what is the main, what are the findings in this article? and ask you what are the findings. So remember, I've not read the article. I'm just using Humata to try and extract information for me that's going to help me. So there we go. And it's given me my page references. There we go at the bottom. Can you see that? There we have it. The article presents the findings, the relationship, so it's giving you that, and you can go and check it. So Humata is very powerful in doing that. So I can take this stuff now from here. I can take the stuff here and then go back. I'm moving back now. Recall, I'm moving back into ChatGPT, and I can paste it here. I say, that's my summary of the article. So I can get a summary from there, bring it in here, and I say, if this is the summary of the article, provide me with a similar article. So it'll give you similar articles, and then you can take it from there. And if you are then looking for articles, so I'm going to go a bit slower. I know this might be a bit pacey for you. So this is ChatGPT. I've just showed you Humata, where I brought the article. Now I'm going to go into the next one called elicit. Elicit. I'm going to say, find me a research article on doctoral quality in the past 5 years. Okay, I'm just going to say, I don't know, I'm looking for articles. So there we go, and it's going to go and try and find, it's going to search the database. And there we go, we've got articles here. Now, not all of them might be relevant. You have to go and find them. So there's the article. These are all the articles that are listed here on the topic. Variations of vivas, quality and equality in the British PhD assessment. Was it worth it? Qualitative exploration of graduate perspectives of doctoral value. And you can see the years, 2002, 2018, 2073, 2022. There we go. Watch this here. 2022. This is beyond ChatGPT 3. There we go. Now we go beyond ChatGPT 3. This is the article. There's its summary. That's the entire abstract. The abstract's there. We also have the introduction and the article. The whole article is for you on the right-hand side. That's the entire article. I've got the article. I've got it here. There's the PDF that's available. The DOI number is there. The abstract is there. What outcomes did they measure? It gives you a list of outcomes. Who were the participants? So it's giving you a summary already. This is the power of elicit. This is elicit. That's the third one that I'm showing you. So I could now very easily simply copy this here. Copy this here. Here's what I'm doing. I'm going to say copy. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go back to doctoral research quality. My ChatGPT summarize the following. I'll say abstract into 200 words, because that's too long for me. I don't want to use such a long abstract. Summarize the following up into 200 words. Okay, and I'm just going to paste it. And we say, go. There we go. I think that's a bit more than 200 words. I think it misbehaved, but it did give me a summary of what I had. There we go. This is the entire summary that is generated. So you can put these summaries together, and you can ask ChatGPT to write you the conclusion or the introduction to the section. Now, I'm using this with my students who struggle to write chapter headings. They struggle to get a chapter heading. So what we do is we put the entire section in, and we ask ChatGPT to suggest for us a potential headings for the section, and that's what it does. And then we can define the headings. If you want a full sentence heading, or just 2 or 3 words as a heading, or a word with a prompt, there we have it. So we have that with ChatGPT. Okay, so that's the literature review. The next step that we have is you can use ChatGPT to generate ideas for your research design. So we say, generate a research design for this paper. So generate a research design. Let's see what it gives me. So here we have my research design. It's suggesting to me this is the design we can use for this paper. Now, it's suggesting, be careful. I asked it initially to write for me a quantitative paper. Look at what it's suggesting. Look at what it's suggesting. The research designed for this paper can follow a mixed methods approach, incorporating both comprehensive understanding of the attributes possessed by graduates of doctoral degrees. So it's suggesting for me that this would work. And then it outlines how it would work. So it suggests for you a research design. Now we've got a design. Now I'm going to ask it something very difficult. Write an introduction to this research article or research paper. And I'm going to say using, I'm going to try to trick it here, using references. Let's see what it comes up with. Are you all with me? I'm asking it now in my next step, which is our step 4 in our research process, writing the introduction. Write an introduction to this research paper using references. Let's see what it comes up with. I'm just going to tell it to continue generating. Okay, so here we have something. It's giving you some ideas. Remember, you have to go and test it. You're going to have to check it. It's suggesting an introduction for you. So there you have your entire introduction for the paper. I'm not going to read this. We don't have time. We've got just another 5 minutes left from what I can see. It gives you, and you can see it's got references in it. Now, your task is to go and verify these references. Make sure that they're correct with quotations. And it's got them in here. As you can see, your references are in it, got stuff in it, right through. It's giving you what you need and so on. And it's giving you your reference list. So go and check this, double check that these things exist. So once you've done with your introduction, then you would like it to write your method section, and simply you can give it a command like explain the following research qualitative method and give me generate a detailed explanation. You can do that. Then you can, after you've input your data, go to your step 6, which is your results section, where you're presenting your results, and you can say ask ChatGPT to assist with this through the command present the following results. So give it the results and say present the results, and it will present the results for you. That's the prompt you would give it. Or your step 7 in your discussion section, that is interpreting the results and linking them to your research question. This is quite important. That's where you got to link them in. So ChatGPT can help by using the command, for example, discuss the implications of these results. Simply here, this function, discuss the implications of the result, and it will give you that. And then you go into your conclusion section. ChatGPT 3 can summarize your findings using the command prompt. Simply say, summarize the key findings of this research on whatever, on doctoral research and so on. Your next step would be in the references managing. So in references, managing references can be a daunting task for ChatGPT. And this is where you can give it commands like format my references. You can literally tell it, format my references using Chicago referencing style. Okay, I didn't put anything in, but let's see if it gives me anything. So there you go. It's formatted using Chicago. So this saves you the work of something like Mendeley or EndNote, or what's the other one I use? Zotero. It does it for you. Okay, and the final step here is your post-writing stage, which all of you are familiar with. That is revising and editing the paper. Now, this is where ChatGPT is extremely powerful, very powerful in this stage. So proofreading and editing are made much easier with ChatGPT. Use the command simply proofread and edit the following text. You paste the example of your abstract, your introduction, etc., and get suggestions for grammatical corrections and stylistic improvement, and so on and so on. Look, I know that this has been a whirlwind tour of this. I'm very passionate about ChatGPT. I use it all the time, but I hope that I've provided you with some insights and some cautions as well when using it. If you do need more information on this, or you would like a session where we could work together on some project, I'd be glad to do that with you. Just check with Colleen and them. And that's pretty much my presentation for today. I hope you have something that you could take out from what I had to say. Thank you, Colleen.
Thanks. You let ChatGPT go. There's a little thing that I've learned about ChatGPT is that regenerate response. That is so useful. I don't know if you can bring it up, if you can bring up your ChatGPT quickly again.
Let me see. Share my screen. There we go. Yeah, we are there. Okay.
Okay, so let's give it a new response. Say, for example, as a friend, write a thank you letter to Naina for the lovely dinner she provided on Friday.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Spelling all
So
correct. And
send
I'm
it
going to
off.
say generate. Right. So now that's good what Colleen has got. Go take it from there, Colleen.
Okay, now say that is a little bit over the top for you. That is embarrassing. You want to redo it. Go to regenerate response. Just regenerate response. And it's given us another letter. So now you can choose between those letters. You can copy one of them, the one that you enjoy most, and you change it into your own voice.
Correct.
And I always sign off. So it'll be with heartfelt thanks, Colleen, with ChatGPT. I always add that. So whenever I've written a letter using this, and can you see how much time letter writing takes compared to doing it a normal way? So all my birthday messages and all those kind of domestic things, I now do this. I needed a recipe the other day. You can put in there, give me a simple recipe for bread and butter pudding. And it came up with a fantastic recipe. And there we go. So the point I tried to make earlier is you can use, by regenerating, you can get several different letters. There we go. It's even giving you a recipe. But it is so useful. And to me, what you have shown us in the last 15 minutes, I would use when I'm trying to get my thoughts ready on a paper. But I have found it most useful when a paper is already written.
Correct.
Then use ChatGPT to organize the words. And that way you're absolutely certain that every single word is actually your intellectual property.
Yes.
So you've got to be very careful. Like you said in the beginning, we've got to be careful to use ChatGPT for inspiration and to get past writer's block. But we must be very careful not to let it become our source of information.
Yeah.
They're much better sources of information. And recently I've come across it's called GPT-0, where you can check to see if it's likely a text has come off any of the AIs, not just GPT. So be careful. Plagiarism is going to be picked up eventually. Right now, people are fobbing these off as their own work. But remember, we are scientists or academics with integrity. We will not use AI as source material. We'll use it as tools to help us be much more efficient. And so, yes, of course, chats next semester, I'm sure that other people here, please if you can send me questions that you would like us to address on ChatGPT, but I would like to almost on a monthly basis go through what AI is now doing for us in academia until for the rest of the year, to have one session a month on AI, how to use it, the ethics of using it, the integrity around it. So send me questions, but I think we'll start off in August with another presentation from you, showing us how to get those add-ins. I think we've got a 1 minute. I'll allow 1 minute. It's already 16:30 for one burning question, if there is one.
I've got a question. That's Sarah.
Right, Sarah, go for it.
My daughter was talking to me last night, and she said that she's concerned that even when you put your own work, your own words into AI, whether it will be picked up on a plagiarism program like Turnitin, and it will say that the work that you've done is plagiarized because it's picking up what you put in of your own work into ChatGPT, or I used Perplexity last night.
Chats, would you like to comment on
look,
that?
I don't think it'll plagiarize your own work as long as you are the author, because if you put your own work, you will know that it's your work. Because in any text similarity software, I don't call these plagiarism softwares, by the way, they text similarity that they're picking up. It will pick up and you will know, well, these are the words that I'm using. Nobody else has used them. And you can actually ask you to reference it. Now, what people are doing now is a lot of my students, as well as my colleagues, I've taught them to use Quillbot. Quillbot is here. What Quillbot does, when you are using it, it automatically checks for text similarity and plagiarism. It does it automatically as you're writing it. So it's doing it on the fly. So you don't have to do it the way we have been doing it in academia up until now, that is finish the entire research article, strip it of the common words, then input it into, I think people are using turn it in and send us a report back. No, that's a very long way to do it. When you write a paragraph, you want to check immediately, is this plagiarized or not? Quillbot, we can do a whole session. Quillbot is very powerful. I can show you how you do that in Quillbot, using the summarize tools, using wordplay on it, trying to find synonyms with it. There's tons of stuff that's being written right now using AI to simply get past these issues, to get past them. And it is not, believe me, it is not cheating. People think it is cheating. It's not cheating. It's cheating for those people who feel they are cheated. It's not. It's simply trying to give you a tool to make you do something faster and more efficiently. Think about our students who do not have the language facilities that some of us have, who are mother tongue speakers of English. I mean, it saves a lot of them a lot of pain when they have to use this. For some of us who are mother tongue speakers, it will help us to use it much more powerfully. And I find this very important when using ChatGPT. What makes it powerful? Let me tell you the last takeout. I know we run out of time. I use very often a phenomenon that occurs in another discipline that I might think doesn't happen in music, and I pick it up somewhere else, and I realize, oh, wow. And Dana gave a lovely example the other day in a presentation for us, where she used the example of Hydra and how this regenerated stuff. I thought, wow, she actually drew on biology in a class in an arts school, and I would have never thought of that. And this is where ChatGPT is powerful. You can say, find me an analogy to this in the field of health sciences, and it'll find that for you. It'll bring it across, and you can use that as your example. I did a paper last month on the relationship between South Africa and Switzerland. And the one guy that they had interviewed many years back, this is pre-apartheid, he says they took him to go to a zoo where he only saw donkeys and goats. And I thought, oh, this is lovely, donkeys and goats. Let me try and use this as a metaphor for the relationship between South Africa and Switzerland. And ChatGPT gave it to me. It's brilliant. I got to share this. It's hilarious, but brilliant. You got to read. So it's stuff like that that makes your writing interesting. Sorry, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there for now.
Okay, I know there are other questions. Please pop them into an email for me, because we cannot go over time. My email address is elderc@ukzn.ac.za. And just to add on to your question, Sarah, if you have used your own words in ChatGPT and you publish an article, I would put in the acknowledgements, ChatGPT was used in the editing of this article.
Correct.
It was not used, and maybe if you need to make it explicit, you can say it was not used for source material. So it's a matter of,
it wouldn't go into the references. We just put it under acknowledgements. We just say
it's not a reference. Other people in other disciplines have put it in a reference if they've used it as a source material, but I'm saying we should not even touch it as source material in our own writing. We can use it as source material in trying to unblock our writing or just find ideas, that kind of thing. But when we write our papers, we've got to write our own work. And then if we use ChatGPT, we use it as an editing assistant.
Yeah,
right, I have to call it.
Yeah, I was trying to get my abstract from 350 words to 250 words. So it was all my own writing that I put in.
Perfect. Yeah, that is absolutely
a completely ungrammatical sentence. And I looked at this and I thought, no. But it was fun. And that's when you do your own editing.
Yeah. Good. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the July break. I hope some of you are going to be able to take some time off. We've got a long weekend coming up, and we'll see you all back here in August. Thank you.
Thank you,
bye-bye.
Colleen. Bye.
Bye. Thanks again, Chats.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.